Your 20s and 30s are not for showing off. They are for setting up the rest of your life. But most people don't realize that until it's too late. In your 20s, you feel like you have all the time in the world. In your 30s, you feel like you just need more money. But by your 40s, you're just wishing you had invested earlier. The biggest financial mistake young adults make isn't having a low income. It's a low sense of urgency. You think you'll start investing later. You think you'll take money seriously later. You think wealth building is something older people worrying about. But here's the truth. Your 20s and 30s are the most powerful financial decades of your entire life. Not because you earn the most money, but because of time. Time is the most unfair advantage you have when it comes to money. Imagine two people invest the exact same amount every month. But one person starts just 10 years earlier. That early starter can end up with nearly double the money, sometimes even more, all because of compound growth. That's how powerful time is, and most people just waste it. They spend their early years upgrading their lifestyle instead of upgrading their assets. A new phone every year, expensive clothes, car loans, vacations they can't really afford, all to impress people who honestly don't care. Meanwhile, someone else is quietly investing. And 10 years later, the gap between them becomes obvious. Wealth is invisible at first. You don't see it building. You don't feel it building, but it's there, growing silently in the background. And here's something nobody tells you. Your 20s are for skill stacking, and your 30s are for asset acceleration. Let me explain what that means. In your 20s, your biggest and best investment should be yourself. And not just academically, I mean financially and skill-wise. Learn skills that directly increase your income. Things like sales, marketing, negotiation, tech skills, content creation, public speaking, or leadership. The higher your value is in the marketplace, the higher your income ceiling becomes. And when your income ceiling increases, your ability to invest explodes. Most people only focus on saving small amounts here and there. But increasing your income has unlimited upside. If you can double your income while keeping your expenses under control, your investing power goes through the roof. Now let's talk about your 30s. Your 30s are when all that discipline starts to pay off. If you spent your 20s building valuable skills and avoiding bad debt, your 30s become a wealth acceleration phase. This is when investing aggressively really matters. This is when buying assets becomes a serious priority. This is when ownership becomes the name of the game. Because here's the reality. If you reach the age of 35 with no investments, no assets, and a pile of high-interest debt, the financial pressure starts to multiply. Your responsibilities increase. Family expenses might go up. Your flexibility with your time decreases. The earlier you build that solid foundation, the easier your 30s will be. Now, let's address something that might be a little uncomfortable. You have to stop trying to look successful before you actually are successful. Social media has created this fake timeline. You see people your age driving luxury cars, traveling constantly, living that so-called soft life. But what you don't see is the debt. You don't see the financial stress. You don't see the pressure that's happening behind the scenes. Real wealth doesn't need validation from others. It needs patience. Let me give you an example. If you invest just $500 a month from age 25 to 35, and then you stop investing completely, but just let that money grow, you could still end up with more money than someone who waits until 35 to start and invests for the next 20 years straight. That is the incredible power of starting early. The earlier you plant the tree, the longer it has to grow. Another thing that completely wastes your 20s and 30s. Bad debt. Now, not all debt is evil, but consumer debt is incredibly dangerous. High-interest credit cards, financing liabilities like cars, borrowing money just for status. Interest works in two directions. When you invest, interest works for you. When you borrow poorly, interest works against you. And compound interest working against you is brutal. It quietly keeps you broke year after year. You must learn this principle early on. Assets first, lifestyle later. Build up your income-producing investments before you dramatically upgrade your life. Because once your assets start generating their own cash flow, that's when a better lifestyle becomes sustainable for the long run. And here's another powerful idea. Wealth is not about getting one big win. It's about avoiding big mistakes. Avoid massive debt. Avoid lifestyle inflation. Avoid quitting your investments too early. And avoid chasing get-rich-quick schemes. If you can simply avoid the major financial disasters in your 20s and 30s, you are already way ahead of the game, because time will amplify whatever direction you choose. If you build wisely, time multiplies your wealth. If you build recklessly, time multiplies your stress. The choice is yours. Here's the mindset shift you need to make. Your 20s are not for comfort, they are for construction. Your 30s are not for comparison, they are for consolidation. Stop measuring your success by your appearance. Measure it by your ownership. How many assets do you own? How much are you investing every month? How much is your income growing year over year? How disciplined are your expenses? These are the real metrics of success. 10 years from now, nobody will care what phone you had when you were 25, but you will absolutely care whether or not you built investments when you were 25. Your future self is watching the decisions you make right now. And that future you will either thank you or resent you. But here's the good news. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. Invest something, learn something, build something. Consistency will always beat intensity. You don't need to become obsessed overnight. You just need to become intentional, because the difference between struggling at 40 and thriving at 40 is often how you handled your 20s and 30s. Time is passing anyway. The only question is, are you building or are you just spending? If this video shifted your perspective, subscribe to our channel, because your financial freedom isn't built in a single year. It's built in the years that most people waste, and the best time to stop wasting them is right now. Thanks for watching.